Good morning, welcome to Thursday morning's thought for today. We're still in James chapter 3, verses 1 to 12. We really looked at the end of that passage on Sunday morning at our harvest service, but we're spending time looking at the start of it and the whole issue of the tongue this week in our thoughts for today. And hopefully you've been with us and you understand where we're going with this issue of the tongue. We thought yesterday about the whole idea of taking the tongue. I was going to say taking the tongue in hand, which is a funny picture when you think about it. I wouldn't recommend you try to do that. But we thought about the fact that the doctor very often has to depress the tongue so that he can get a proper evaluation of somebody's health. And sometimes for us to get a proper evaluation of our spiritual health, the tongue needs to be silent. The tongue needs to be told, no, you're not saying anything. Be quiet. Allow God's word to examine your heart and your mind before you start chattering on about it. And we're picking up really that whole idea of the tongue this morning as we go on to read in it's half of verse 5, but we'll start the whole of verse 5, where James writes, "So also the tongue is a small member, yet boasts of great things." And then he says, "How great a forest is set ablaze by such a small fire. And the tongue is a fire, a world of unrighteousness. The tongue is set among our members, straining the whole body, setting on fire the entire course of life, and set on fire by hell." Wow. James really isn't mixing his words there. He's really saying it as it is. And sometimes when you think about these fires, I think this is a really good analogy. And bear in mind, we don't have any idea that James was talking about a forest fire in the same way as we know about forest fires today. Think back to the forest fires around the start of 2020 in Australia and how they just wreaked havoc. And we know of people who were affected by that. And then the forest fires over in California. And we're always hearing about these fires and the forests getting consumed. And very often with that, livelihoods, businesses, homes, etc. also get swallowed up in this fire. How do these fires start? We don't know. We want to believe it started simply because the sun was so hot and it refracted through some broken glass or whatever. Chances are they were started because of carelessness. Chances are they may also have been started through somebody being malicious and deciding to set ablaze in a small area for whatever reason. They get the fun in doing that, and then the fire spreads. Because once a fire takes light, it just takes off. And the damage it does, here in Northern Ireland, we see the odd forest fire in the mornings, or we hear about it, but it's never doing the same damage it does in many other places in the world, where forest fires just eat up everything. And yet they had to start with either a match or a lighter or a spark or just the heat of the sun through something very small. And through that small thing, thousands and thousands of acres and trees and homes are destroyed. So James likens the tongue to a forest fire, to that little spark, in a sense, that thing that ignites a forest fire, and then it just takes off. And we all know what he means. There's not one of us listening to this today who doesn't know what James means here. He basically says, with your tongue, you can create so much damage, so much hurt. That one phrase that you should have thought before you said it. That one thing that you didn't need to say. That one attitude that you decided to allow your tongue to express. That word you used in the language that you used that shocked that person and has changed the way they think of you forever. We can say so many things with our tongue that become ignition switches and just take fire. And relationships have ruined. Families have been split. Towns have been split. Churches have been split because somebody said something that they shouldn't have said. They might say, well, it was in my heart, I had to say it. None of it does that damage. There are other ways of dealing with those sort of things without allowing your words to become an incendiary device that sets fire to communities. There are ways of doing it. So I want to urge you today, whatever's on your heart, if you feel you want to give someone a piece of your mind, if you feel somehow that you're entitled to say whatever it is you want to say, caution yourself. Caution yourself, please. Because the last thing you want to do, trust me, the last thing you want to do is to say something that will set on fire a series of events that could become disastrous. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. We're told that it comes, James says, he says the tongue is set among our members, straining the whole body, setting on fire the entire course of life. In other words, because of something you say, the course of your life, the course of your family's life, the course of your church's life, the course of your community can be set in a completely different and worse direction because of what you say. And then he goes on to say, and set on fire by hell. Wow. In other words, because you didn't caution yourself, because you spoke before you prayed about it, because you allowed Satan to take control of your emotions, this was taken too far and it's gone completely out of control. And the only person who's glorified is Satan and not Jesus Christ, not God our Father. So this is a strong word. One of the strongest things I've ever said, I suppose, on thought for today. And it's all about that thing in your mouth, your tongue. Please, 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 for the sake of everyone, be careful what you say and be careful how you say it. God willing, you'll be back again tomorrow. I'm not scolding, I'm just trying to simply caution us all, myself included. See you then. God bless.